Where'd you go?
Come here. I wanted to look like maybe you had Angel Trump on the show.
With nipple rings.
Today's special guest.
The best nipple rings. Look at those.
Gosh.
Oh boy.
I know. It's pretty sweet. I love it.
Next time do one that is him actually with his shirt off. That would be nice for the viewers.
I'm sure you have plenty of those. If you'll send one to me, I'll be happy to use it.
I don't.
Are you introing us, Michael?
Oh yeah. Charles. Oh yeah, I'm introing us. So we got Charles Blain laughing at me in the top left, on the bottom with the pink hat and the beautiful Trump background. Brad Swail, MAGA.
Oh, hello.
And then of course me, Michael Searle, right here.
And Searle ATX.
Today we're doing a little, typically on the show we take one topic from all levels of government, national, state, local, focused on Texas. But today we're just going to do an election recap of those three levels. But before the show starts, Brad, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing great.
Doing great. I mean, I love these boomer Trump memes that just pop up. They're the worst and also the best. They're just so cringy, and I can't get enough. I have a lot saved, so I hope to show you my whole collection one day.
It's just a folder of them. You just kind of, as you see them, you lump them in there.
I have them professionally printed and framed, and they're all over my home.
Yeah, good place.
Yeah. Charles, how are you?
I'm doing good. I was watching the news this morning. Those pandas that we talked about a couple weeks ago are on their way back to China. And so it was really cool. They loaded them up, and it was really interesting. Also on the news this morning, I saw that this girl died in this lake in Guatemala, and it's the same lake that I was in a couple months ago in Guatemala, and it was very choppy waters, and I thought I was going to die, and it turns out she died while on this little boat because of the choppy water. So,
dang.
What is this? I don't want to, why did she die? Because it's choppy water. I've been on choppy waters before, and I didn't die.
So this lake, it's a very deep lake. It's one of the deepest lakes in Central America, and it's just massive. And to get to the villages around the lake, you have to take these little boats across. And sometimes the boats don't make it. More often than not, they do make it across, but sometimes they don't. And she was on a kayak trying to get across, and it just did not end well.
Oh man, it's like Lake Tahoe. It's deep, choppy, and if you capsize in the middle of it, it's a long way to swim.
Oof. And I can't swim, so.
And then the pandas are gone. All right. Well, that's the real tragedy here. How about we get started?
Let's do it.
Let's do it.
What's the first on the list? Michael, do you want to tee this up for us?
I'd love to. So we're starting with the state, and as you all know, on Tuesday, voters across the state of Texas voted on 14 propositions?
Constitutional amendments, propositions. Is that the same?
Yeah. And all but one passed.
Which one didn't pass?
The one that didn't pass was making the retirement age for judges older.
Good.
We know how you voted on that one.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, you need to, 75 is old enough. Retire, enjoy yourself. Usher in a younger generation. I mean, I know that the statesman recommended voting no on that. Not that I listened to the statesman, guys, calm down. But they were right. I mean, the statesman wanted younger people to usher in because they're going to be more progressive than Democrats and whatever, blah, blah, blah. But I'm just we have enough old people in politics. We don't need more old people. We don't need older old people.
Yeah, I think with Biden hanging out there as our president, that may have had some effect on people's voting on this one.
I think so. I thought what was really interesting about that one, and I don't know if I assume this is going to be true, but I think as Patrick Svitek tweeted that Chief Justice Nathan Hecht is 74, turning 75 next year, 2024. So he's going to be forced to resign. This would have allowed him to stay on, which then leads to another Abbott appointment because that's going to be kind of midterm. So it's another Abbott appointment to the Supreme Court. So I'm sure he was not happy. I'm sure he voted yes on this one.
I'm sure he did. Anything else on that list stand out to you? I mean, obviously there's Prop 4, the big property tax. One thing that stood out to me here was interesting, and I don't know if this is emblematic of other larger problems. We had huge tax cuts on the ballot. Of course, people voted 83% for that. And then we had a bunch of spending things. It's like, we want lower taxes, but we want to spend more money.
Isn't that the way it always goes, though?
That's how it goes. I mean, people love it.
Yeah, we had, there was I guess the city of Austin is trying to capitalize on the, was it the 50% tax break on property taxes for child care centers or whatever, daycares, right?
Yeah.
At the state level. Now, City of Austin's passed yesterday a resolution to direct the city manager to, let's make that a full 100%. Let's give them 100% off, which I kind of struggle with personally on a personal level. I mean, I'm all for people getting, not having to pay property taxes. That's fantastic. Like, more people should have that opportunity, but where the fuck's my property tax break? Why can't I get no property taxes? I have 3 kids. Can I be a child center?
Probably. You should probably look into it.
Sign up an LLC.
I mean, it might be worth it. Like, I'd look into it. But you're right. I mean, yeah, we give special tax breaks to special interests and then the average person. And the other thing is that not only do they give that tax break, but then the existing taxed population has to then eat that cost because it's kind of lumped in there. So not are you just giving them a tax break, but you're paying more for it. So
yeah, they're not it's not like the state of Texas is gonna, or city of Austin, anybody, they're not gonna lose that money. They'll just find it somewhere else.
Yeah.
I do have a nanny. I wonder if I can just get her to start an LLC and we pay her, and then we can rent the house to her LLC. She can get, I think that might work. Maybe, right?
And then when school choice passes, she can then launch a school, which will then give you more money from the state. So
fuck yes. Gosh, damn. I'm going to be making so much money off of this.
When school choice passes and you are one of the eligible 35 people that get it.
I'll do whatever it takes.
Yeah, I don't know how they have disassociated so successfully the idea that spending money requires more revenue for governments, which means more taxes. But I don't get that either party doesn't seem to understand that. I don't know.
Is it because they're a uniparty? Because they don't actually give a shit about spending less? They can't lose those votes?
I don't know. I mean, it's more profound, or it's more just like noticeable on the local level where you have conservatives actually trying to cut things, but on the national and state level, I don't know. I think it's the incentive systems in electoral politics. Like, you got to get people's vote, and people want stuff. So we have things on the ballot that spend money, and we're creating a $3.9 billion endowment for the Texas University Fund.
Yeah, they need money. Texas universities, their endowments aren't big enough. It's fantastic.
You know, another thing I found interesting was for Prop 4. Nobody's talking about this. I don't know why. But one of the provisions of the property tax proposition was that they're going to allow some appraisal districts to have an elected board member now, as opposed to just a full body of appointed board members from different elected entities. And so I think that's cool. I might run for Harris County Appraisal District Board of Directors.
Hell yeah.
This is my launch. This is my announcement.
This is your announcement?
Well, now that you've announced it, you have to file it. It's illegal to announce without filing, right?
I was just kidding.
No, you weren't. Absolutely not. Yes. That's going to launch the podcast. On this Proposition 1 about the farms and stuff like that. So I voted yes, because I don't want the city of Austin to regulate anything because they suck. But Travis County is the only county in Texas that voted no, probably because they saw that it would limit the city of Austin's ability to regulate things, and they just, shit the bed over that. But I did see one person say that people should vote no because it's sponsored by Big Ag and it eliminates regulation on their products, which I can get behind. I don't like Monsanto. I don't like Big Ag. If they're going to be dumping chemicals into Town Lake, that's not good. And maybe that should be stopped. But I already voted at that point, so I didn't have time. I didn't even bother researching it. Was it? You guys know stuff like that. Was it sponsored by Big Ag?
I don't know, but I definitely want to remove that. Maybe they shouldn't put that in the lake. I think that's a definite. They shouldn't put that stuff in the lake.
Well, Town Lake. You know what Town Lake is, though, right?
Who, me? No.
Sewer.
What?
The sewer.
Yeah.
Oh, is it really? Wow. I thought I've seen pictures of people swimming in it, though.
Yep. People swim and people do gross things, Charles.
So the sewage goes into the water treatment plants. They treat it one time, and then it goes into Town Lake.
Just once.
So it's been treated, and then it comes out, is treated again, and then you get it at your faucet.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, it coincidentally, Charles, the fish in Town Lake tastes really good.
They come pre-seasoned, I'm sure.
Whoa, Charles. Yes, they do. All right. Well,
All right. Well, are we done talking about Big Ag? Can we talk about local stuff?
Yeah, it's so much more exciting, Charles.
Well, I do have an announcement. So after I just announced my run for Harris County Appraisal District
there
Director.
it is again, regulators. Get them.
The other thing, so I mean, there was a lot on the ballot everywhere. I think you guys had a massive bond proposition on Travis County ballot. We had a bunch of bond propositions as well, but one of the biggest propositions we had was Proposition A, which would allow Houston City Council members to finally place something on the agenda, a power that is still currently only reserved for the mayor until January 1st. And it passed with an 83% approval from voters. And this was my proposition, and I'm very proud of it. Thank you. Thank you. I was waiting for that.
Was there any organized opposition?
No.
Yeah.
There was, the mayor opposed it, and he spoke poorly of it. And then some other former council members were out speaking poorly of it because they said it would make council meetings long. And there were some Republicans who claimed that it would allow Democrats to defund the police, which the way that defunding the police has a stranglehold on the Republican Party that we just cannot let that go. Anyway, so no unified opposition, but there were people out there who were opposed to it, who were speaking very poorly of it.
How many people are on your city council?
16.
That is a lot. And so I mean, that would be my guess as to like a downside of it is that I guess the city of Austin, Michael can confirm this, is 4 people have to agree to put something on the agenda. And sometimes we have these agendas that are, 190 items long and they take forever. And there's no possible way that anybody on city council knows enough detail about 190 items to do anything. If you have 16, it only takes 1.
No, it takes 3. It takes 3.
Oh, it takes 3. Okay.
It takes 3, yeah.
But before it was just the mayor. You had to.
Just the mayor. And if you wanted anything from your district, like, I mean, a community center, a stop sign, whatever, you had to go through the mayor to get that on the agenda. And often the mayor would, especially this mayor, would withhold things like that if you didn't take a vote in his favor for whatever else that he wanted. And so you had a lot of council members who were like trying to play this game of being on his side, but also holding true to their values and then trying to get things for their district. And it was a little bit of a mess. And so, I mean, there's still a lot of issues. Like, we're still a strong mayor form of government. This is just kind of a one chip away at the block. But we'll see. I mean, it might make city council meetings long. Right now, they're at most like an hour and a half. Like, so,
What? An hour and a half?
Yeah, usually. I mean, public session is on Wednesday, and that'll usually run maybe 2 hours if there's a lot of people coming to testify. Then, I'm sorry, public session's on Tuesday. Wednesday morning, they meet it for council, and it's, usually they're out by, 9 to 11 at the longest, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m.
I mean, our city council meetings last forever.
Yeah.
Our commissioners' court meetings last forever, like all day, 10 to 6.
Yeah.
That's because Lena Hidalgo has got a stranglehold.
So there's the one difference here that's kind of is important is that Houston has strong mayor form of government. In Austin have a city manager form of government. So the things that are on the agenda for Austin are all brought by the city manager, whereas in Houston it's all set by the mayor. And the number of items that come from council is probably maybe 10 at most. And their, fee waivers for their neighborhood event or their, some march on the Capitol for their favorite progressive group. Like, there's not a ton of council items. They're all coming from city management. It's like, we got to spend money on this thing. And there was a move to move Austin to strong mayor a few years back. It wasn't quite as.
That was like a year ago, 2 years ago.
2021.
Oh, okay.
You want to hear something? You want to hear something funny about that? I, in principle, am for strong mayor form of government. I think you're only as good as the person that's running your organization. And if he's elected versus appointed, I guess elected is preferable. But I ran the campaign against it. And we
Adler at the time.
Yeah, we beat this. We won 84-16. And it was really the thing people didn't like was the veto. Was the veto power that was going to be given to the mayor. That was a big sticking point. But on principle, I'm like, yeah, if you elect someone that's awesome or horrible, you're going to get an awesome or horrible city government. And
yeah, see, if we were transitioning from, like, if we had city manager, I would definitely opt for strong mayor. Like, I don't like city manager simply because, like you said, it's just an unelected bureaucrat. And I know that in San Antonio for a while, I can't remember what her name was, but there's a long-serving city manager who had amassed, like, a ton of power and was just, like, the main power broker in the city. I think this was, like, up until somewhat recently. But, yeah, so we'll see. I mean, the mayor still has a ton of power, appoint department directors, appoints committee chairs, pro tem, organizes council, oversees everything. It's not going to change a ton. It's just going to kind of start to chip away at it a bit. We'll see.
How many Republicans do you have on the Houston City Council?
Right now we have like 3.5.
Okay. So the number 3 was very specific.
Well, so technically, the city charter allows certain actions by 3 council members, but also there are 3 council districts that will always be Republican. It just so happens that is the case.
All right. Well, congratulations, Charles.
Thanks.
I'm proud of you. You did a great job.
Thank you. I also want to talk about some of these bond propositions too, because I know you guys had a big one in Travis County, $276 million.
Two bond propositions passed in Travis County, Prop A and Prop B. Prop A was about $250 million for streets and mobility projects, widen some streets, stuff like that. I kind of doubt there's going to be. I mean, I know there's going to be some street widening and making it easier for cars, but I think it's going to be. They'll probably try to do some bike lanes and stuff like that here and there. But then the other proposition was another $250 million or so for parkland acquisition, and $200 million of that goes to buying new parkland. And Travis County has a lot of parkland already, so I don't know why we need more. But it kind of seems to me like that's not going to help with the affordability crisis. If all of this land is being bought up that could be built into housing, I know Charles hates that idea because he wants everyone to live on top of each other. But it's going to take away some of that land, some of that opportunity. Prices are going to go up, right?
I agree. I'm a big fan of sprawl. That's why they should not be clawing up all this land.
You're
guys have that
sprawl?
Huh?
You're a fan of it?
I am. Yes, I'm a fan of sprawl. I'm
a fan of sprawl. I feel like now we're like best friends.
Well, I mean, but we still disagree on parking minimums and minimum lot sizes. So we're
yeah, we do. Maybe we're not best friends, Charles.
But I think that's a good point, because all the people who probably supported that are also the people talking about affordability in Austin and don't draw the connection that stuff like that makes it unaffordable. Toronto has the same thing where they have like 2 million acres of green space surrounding the city, and they refuse to let any of the provinces build on it. And so you just have everybody building in Toronto, and it's just getting more and more and more expensive. And it's going to be like, I think it's like the 3rd most expensive housing market out of like the top 8 countries.
Well, it also forces the density issue, because if the Travis County is buying parkland around, I mean, there's not parkland to be bought in the city of Austin. It just doesn't exist. There's plenty of parks in Austin, whatever. They're just going to be buy around the city of Austin, and you can't build out anymore. There's not going to be any more sprawl. So it's going to have to be more dense. And if the neighborhoods keep winning, like they should be winning, then all of this equity transit oriented developments and VMU2s and all this crap where they're not telling anybody that they're changing their properties, those are going to keep losing in court. And then the city of Austin is going to be frozen in amber. And I know urbanists fucking hate that. They hate it. And they use that term all the time. Cities can't be frozen in amber. Well, maybe the city's frozen. Like it did pretty well. People really like Austin, and it's pretty nice. So maybe it should be frozen in amber a little bit, right? Keep those large lot sizes.
You just got to see how people want to live. That's the thing. That's what they don't want. That's the urbanists that you speak of, which is not all urbanists. They want to dictate how you live. Huh?
Are you an urbanist?
I mean, I'm like a free market urbanist. Like, I don't know what you call that. But the urbanists that you speak of in particular, they want to dictate how people live. They don't want to look at how the market or how people choose to live and then react accordingly, which is why they do things like that, push things like building all this buying all this green space and forcing everyone to live inside and blah, 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 blah. But if they just listen to what people wanted to do, I think it would be a much better solution for the most part. I mean, some people want to do some bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah, they do.
Yeah, they do. The parks thing is, the city already, there was some report years ago that said the city doesn't have enough money to maintain the existing park system. And then they're just going and getting more. It's just, everybody wants park, and the city, they do these, I don't know if you do this in Houston, but we do these like master plans in a silo. It's like the bicycle master plan that just came out that said we need to spend $1 billion on bicycles, or the park master plan that says every house needs to be within a quarter mile of a park. And we have these like ambitious plans that in a silo are like ideal. But then when you get into a place where there's competing priorities and you have limited resources, we operate as if we have unlimited tax revenue, and we don't. So what ends up happening is we get these parks, and then homeless people start moving in. We don't have money to maintain them or enforce rules. And it's just, who's going to vote against parks though?
Me.
You know?
So I'm glad you brought up the bike plan, because it's insane that people think this way, that $1 billion on a bike plan is wonderful. It's great. It's money well spent. There's no amount of other people's money that these people are willing to spend to get you out of your car. And when you don't get out of your car, they'll call you an asshole or something. Like this 2014 bicycle plan, I guess they did it because the city of Austin did a study, and they found that 17% of Austinites are the ones that they talked to or whatever. So maybe 10 people said they currently felt safe on biking on city streets. So in 2014, only 17% felt safe. But 55 to 60% would feel safe if the city provided enough protected bike lanes and urban trails. I might have said yes. Yeah, if you provide more bike lanes and urban trails, I might feel safe. That doesn't mean I'm going to fucking bike. Hypothetically, I would feel safe doing it, but I'm still going to drive my car. Why are you spending $1 billion on this, you assholes?
And also, like, I feel like I ride. I don't ride my bike as much anymore, but I would ride on city streets.
You're an adult.
No, it's fun. We have trails along our bayous, and so it's nice. And so I would ride in the street, and I felt safe as long as you adhere to the rules of the road. But I also encounter a lot of cyclists who will blow through stop signs, and in a four-way intersection or something, or if it's not, they have the stop sign, it's not a stop on the other side, just kind of blow through. And yeah, you're not going to feel safe when you're riding like that. And I've seen a lot of cyclists who do kind of just take it in their own hands. And so I think it depends on who you're talking to and how many people you're talking to.
Charles, I will say you cannot expect bicyclists to follow traffic laws. That's insane. You're going to piss off the entire bicycling community, and that's a huge portion of our audience. So I will just say right now that bicyclists do whatever the fuck you want. You're right.
Yeah.
But as a former cyclist, I know what it's like. I would blow through stop signs and red lights all the time. But I was I got hit by a car once. Fine. My fault, their fault. Who cares? It's part of the game. But there's a reason why, like, I wouldn't stop at a stop sign. Right. I'm trying to avoid, making more traffic behind me by slowing down. And I'm a cyclist, so I can't accelerate quite the same way that a car could. Like, there's genuine reasons why a cyclist wouldn't follow some laws sometimes. But at the end of the day, it's for cars, and I try to respect that and would try my best to make decisions that were best for cars.
Fair.
Yeah. It's madness. We have leaky pipes all over the city. We don't have enough cops. Like, we have homeless people sleeping in green belts. Like, we got to have some sense of priorities here, folks. And $1 billion on a bike plan is not even coming anywhere near the top of the priority list. But
there's a quote from a friend of ours, Jack Craver.
Oh,
just to be clear, $1 billion for a world-class bike network isn't it's a bargain. Wow. Bargain, guys. It's a bargain.
Oh,
can't miss this opportunity.
Craver.
I don't.
Well-
no one. I don't know if he was. I know that he rides his bike, and that's fine. And I'm not going to pick on him specifically, but just this past summer, I mean, I don't know how many people were riding their bike. Zero people. Unless like maybe earlier in the morning on 360, you'd see a cyclist. Lance Armstrong wannabe, great. Caitlin Armstrong wannabe, maybe. And they would. That's great. You're doing it for exercise, but for commuting. That it just doesn't happen. And then it's too cold and wet right now. Like no one's fucking doing this, and they're not going to. All right, I'm sorry. Go on. Jack River, you're great.
I'm gonna get us off of bikes. Yeah, we don't need to take Jack seriously. He loves bicycle paths for what. But I'm gonna switch gears. Charles,
that's a great segue from bikes.
Eric Johnson. Did he won re-election or is he in a runoff? And then down in Houston, Sheila Jackson Lee and John Whitmire are headed to a runoff. Isn't that right?
Yeah. Well, no, Eric Johnson wasn't up, was he? I thought he was. I thought he just was sworn in again like a couple months ago.
Well, we can figure that. I'll Google that real quick. Charles, why don't you tell us why you like Sheila Jackson Lee so much
for mayor?
So yes, Senator Whitmire and Congresswoman Sheila Jackson Lee are in a runoff. It's interesting too because all the polling over the summer showed them kind of neck and neck, 32, 33, 34, 33 coming in. And it was a wider spread. I don't have the numbers in front of me. I think it was like 46, 30. No, not 46, 34. I think it was 36, 43. And so, yeah, so Whitmire's leading. And I don't know how Sheila comes back from that because I think she's kind of like hit her cap. And at the end of the race, she was just hitting Republicans constantly for hitting Whitmire for having some Republican donors and kind of making these people out to be MAGA Republicans. And so the Republicans weren't likely to vote for her before. They're certainly less likely to vote for her now after they've been attacked for the past couple weeks. And yeah, I just don't know. I mean, the mayor, it's interesting. Mayor Turner endorsed her the day after the election. And I was like, that probably would have gave her a little bit of a boost she might have needed before, but okay. So he endorsed her, and I mean, we'll see. I don't know what's going to happen, but I think Whitmire's got this in the bag.
So is she getting the progressive vote, and he's kind of this center left and right and center?
Yeah, so she's got the progressive vote and like the older African Americans for the most part. He's got the urban Republicans who live in the city. He's got the kind of generic Democrats, and he's got a lot of the Hispanic vote because of, one, because I think he's been involved in that community a lot, but also Sylvia Garcia and Carol Alvarado have been like really out there for him throughout the entire campaign. And so he's kind of got all those portions locked up. And when I say urban Republican, I more or less meant the business community. And so yeah, he's got all those locked up, and her base is kind of tight. And also there are a lot of city council runoffs. However, none of the predominantly black districts have only one has a runoff. And so you're not having any contested races in there that's going to draw more black people out of those districts. So that would have theoretically given Sheila another boost in the runoff. And I just don't see that happening now.
Did she resign from her House seat?
No, neither of them have to resign because the runoff's on December 9th and filing deadline's, I think, December 11th or 16th for their seats. So no, neither have to resign. Yeah. She will most likely run for re-election if she loses.
She's got to protect us from school choice.
Yeah. We had a somewhat similar dynamic in our last mayoral election, and there was a concerted effort on the right to get Republican voters out for Miss Mayor Kirk Watson, which put him over the edge. Yeah. And so did Busby get into a runoff, or what happened with Busby?
Yes. So Busby got into runoff. Busby was challenging one of our conservative city council members, Marian Ann Huffman, whose father, I always forget his name. He's a state rep. But yes, so he challenged her. At the end of the night, it looked like she was going to be able to pull it off. She was at like 50 point something, and then he pulled her into a runoff. The question is that there's this candidate that was in the race, this third candidate who showed up nowhere, sent out some or a group sent out mailers on his behalf. He's like a complete ghost candidate, and he got a decent amount of votes from the Democrats in the district, which are few but enough to kind of pull her down to a runoff. And so there's questions as to if this guy was even real. But now Busby and Marianne are in a runoff, and I assume it's going to get ugly because it was ugly in the general. And so,
if he was real.
If he was a real candidate. I mean, he's a real person, we presume, but if he was a real candidate.
You presume? There's questions about if he even exists?
Well, nobody's been able to actually find him. Somebody found a LinkedIn page for him, and this guy who has this picture lives in Maryland or something. So no one's been able to be who is this person? So he didn't show up at any forum. No one's seen him at all.
That's an interesting idea.
He issued some statements when he was reached out to by the paper every now and then, but no one's seen him or talked to him. So,
yeah,
that's a really interesting idea. We got a mayoral race next year. Just create a fake candidate. Just use some sort of AI generated image. Fake everything, and just see what they don't show up to anything. That would be awesome.
Name it Hillary Clinton or no. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez.
Yes, exactly. Alexandria Ocasio-Clinton.
And just have them say boilerplate statements over and over again.
Yes. Yeah. Just really fuck up this whole election.
Nikki Haley's, my shoe is not for fashion, it's for ammunition.
Get my daughter's name out of your voice.
That was embarrassing. Why were people so upset about that? It was the softest.
Come on! You don't get why people were upset about that.
I don't know. I don't. All he said was your daughter's on TikTok. Take care of your family first. Before criticizing me about being on TikTok. Okay, your daughter's on TikTok. That's public knowledge. I assume I can get on TikTok and find her. Who cares? That's not a low blow. If someone said that about my daughter, I would be baffled. She's only 3. Why is that an attack?
Well, I mean, I don't know how old Nikki Haley's daughter is, but
he's 25, 26, something like that.
Well, I mean, it was an attack on her parenting. If she's here saying don't do this and your daughter's doing it, it's kind of an attack on her parenting. But it's also how many parents know every single thing their kid's doing or has control over every single thing their kid's doing? I feel like it's just, I feel like it was a low blow, and it didn't really further his argument about why he was on TikTok and what she was attacking over. Does it make her a hypocrite because her daughter's on TikTok? I don't think so. Maybe she told her to get off and she chose not to. I don't know.
I don't think that. Maybe that happened. I have no idea. But at the end of the day, it's not she's 20. She's an adult. So presumably Nikki Haley has very little control over what she does, but she's also running for president. So clean up your act a little bit. Don't be on TikTok because you're going to hurt mommy's, prospects of being the first female president. I got to beat Kamala to the punch. But it's still not Scott Braddock was on Twitter, don't insult our daughters. What the fuck are you talking about? This is not Scott, you don't like Nikki Haley to begin with. 1, 2, he didn't insult her daughter. All he said was your daughter's on TikTok. He's on TikTok because he wants to reach the Gen Z audience, and maybe that's a good strategy or not. We can argue about that. Do they care? Are they going to listen? Is it going to resonate with them? Who knows? But he's trying. But all these fucking Republicans that are running for office that aren't on TikTok are just totally missing the boat. And they're taking some sort, they think that they're better than TikTok. Fine. I don't have TikTok because I'm not, but if I was running for office, I might start a TikTok. And if the CCP wants to download my information, they're probably doing it anyway. I'm not happy about it, but I'm going to try to reach those Gen Z voters.
We should probably put this show on TikTok, by the way. Let me give you this scenario. Say a Republican presidential candidate has a, mid-20s daughter, and that daughter had an abortion, and somehow it was public. And then in a debate, and this Republican's very pro-life. In a debate, someone was like, you can't be pro-life, work on your own family. If you're pro-life, your daughter had an abortion. Would you think that's a low blow?
I think that's a more extreme of an example, right? You're talking about presumably Republicans that are pro-life. They believe that is a fully that's a life. You're murdering a baby if you do that, right? So that's a degree, several degrees difference than your daughter is on TikTok.
Well, no, regardless of the merit, would you think it's a low blow to that person about what their daughter did, whether or not you agree with what your daughter did? I mean, yes, the whole, like, the stakes are much higher. We're talking about, yes, a person, but I'm saying, would you think that attack would be a low blow on that candidate?
Without more information. Well, if the candidate whose daughter got an abortion, if they're like, abortion is, it's murder, and anybody that does it is, a murderer, and you can't, we have to take control of our families and all this other stuff. And then that came out, like, okay, well, I think it's fair game. It might be a low blow, but I don't know. I don't know.
Michael, do you think the original comment was a low blow, and do you think the hypothetical comment was a low blow?
They're totally different. So the comment about her daughter being on TikTok was a nothing burger. Knock it off, snowflakes. Chill out. It's a nothing burger. Your daughter's on TikTok. Oh my God. The calling out someone for a very private.
TikTok. In this scenario, it was public somehow. I don't know how. Maybe she wrote a memoir.
But being on TikTok, presumably you're being there to get followers and be very public about it. Anybody can go find that very easily. Having an abortion is very private. Is she out there under the scenario? Is the daughter out there saying, "I'm pro-abortion and I had one"?
No, she was on she was doing a YouTube interview with an influencer, and she said she had an abortion once.
That's the same thing.
But she didn't say she was pro. She was like, maybe she struggled with it in this interview, and she's like, I am pro-life, but okay, this is a whole hypothetical scenario.
Yeah. I think under that scenario, it's fair game, but I wouldn't advise doing it. That's a private, very tough. I mean, I've told this story to people before. I had a friend in college. I'm not outing her. She went out one night, hooked up with some dude, got pregnant, didn't want to call him. She had an abortion. I went with her. It was incredibly traumatic experience for her as a young college girl. And she didn't do it lightly. So for me, the issues, just because of that experience, that's a private matter. It was not, it's not something to be taken lightly. And I wouldn't advise a presidential candidate to throw that out there in a debate. On the other hand, if it's a TikTok scenario, that's fair game. And come on, guys, let's grow up a little bit. It's okay. He didn't attack her daughter. He didn't really attack her parenting. It didn't strengthen his argument for why he's on TikTok. It was irrelevant, but I thought the reaction to it was a little overblown.
I'll agree with Michael that it would be inadvisable to attack someone's daughter about an abortion. But it's still like, there's a lot of variables there that aren't in this hypothetical that are unknown. So it's
yeah.
All right. Well, clearly the outcome of this is that you don't mind when candidates attack people's. No, I'm kidding. Listen, I'm not taking up arms over this issue. Like, I'm not going to be out there tweeting like "protect our daughters" because he attacked her over TikTok. I just don't. I just, if I were working with him, I'd be like, don't do that. Just like I would have also told his outreach director a couple weeks ago not to call Black people stupid, but she did that anyway. So there's a lot of things they shouldn't be doing. But yes, I mean, is it the end of the world? No, it's not the end of the world by any means.
Yeah.
Did he call Black people stupid? I missed that.
No, he didn't. He didn't. His outreach director did.
Was that her line? Black people are stupid, or was it like a Joe Biden thing where he's like, says something and like obviously it means that, but maybe they didn't mean that.
I mean, no. I'll read you the tweet. She like straight up said, she like just straight up said it. Hold on, let me see if I can find it while we talk about something else.
I mean, if she said like Black people are stupid if they vote for Joe Biden, that would be a different. But if she just straight up says, "Yeah, Black people are dumb,"
no, it was within context of who they vote for. But she did say it. That she did say like the words "Black people are stupid." Now, granted, she's also Black.
Oh, she is.
Oh, here we go. Black people are either pretty dumb or, well, pretty stupid. It's like that time when Black people sold other Black people to slavers for broken pieces of glass or other trinkets. the white liberal got black people to loot and burn their own communities, supporting aborting black babies, voting against school choice, blah, blah, blah. You can agree with that second half about white liberals' influence, but you don't need to call black people stupid in the course of that, especially when you're trying to recruit supporters to your candidate.
Yeah, that's that. Yes, that was a not great, but
inadvisable.
Yes, inadvisable is a good way to put that for sure.
We're not dealing with geniuses here, folks. This is politics.
This is it.
This is a good segue to, well, Brad, this was your intro. The national abortion and the national elections, Republicans just got wiped again. And Vivek has an explanation for what happened.
Shall we listen?
Vivek, and then others have different explanations of what happened, but let's listen to what Vivek said.
Look, the people there are cheering for losing in the Republican Party. Think about who's moderating this debate. This should be Tucker Carlson, Joe Rogan, and Elon Musk. We'd have 10 times the viewership, asking questions that GOP primary voters actually care about and bringing more people into our party. You think the Democrats, and we've got Kristen Welker here, do you think the Democrats would actually hire Greg Gutfeld to host a Democratic debate? They wouldn't do it. And so the fact of the matter is, Kristen, I'm going to use this time because this is actually about you in the media and the corrupt media establishment. Ask you, the Trump-Russia collusion hoax that you pushed on this network for years, was that real or was that Hillary Clinton made up disinformation? Answer the question. Go.
Mr. Ross.
Sorry. This is how we get our country back. We need accountability because this media rigged the 2016 election. They rigged the 2020 election with the Hunter Biden laptop story.
Mr. Ramaswamy,
and they're going to rig this election.
Your time is up.
Accountability.
Let me turn to Governor Christie. Why you, audience?
So that wasn't the exact clip.
Oh.
So before he goes into that excellent little attack on the media and her great smile, he says, Ronna Romney McDaniel, it's time for you to be held accountable. We lost in 2018. Since she got elected in 2017 to RNC chair, we lost in 2018, 2020, no red wave in 2022, and then we lose in 2023. Is Ronna McDaniel to blame, or is there something else going on?
Well, yeah, certainly she's going to have some blame, right? She's the main. The buck stops here, right? She's all the strategy and everything she has to approve, correct? Right?
I think for the national GOP effort, sure. Yeah.
Right. And so and she's, talking about, because I guess Vivek called her out. They're not going to send a single cent to him. Fine, I guess, whatever. Even if he's a good candidate. But I think Vivek is making a good point here. And I'm curious, maybe it's just because the media is just so liberal, like what else are you going to do? But the DNC is not going to hire Greg Gutfeld to do to moderate a debate. Like that's not going to happen. But for some reason, Republicans keep getting up in front of these, people, the Lester Holtz of the world, and fielding talking to the media that hates them. Why is that? Why does that happen? Like, why isn't the RNC saying, like, yeah, let's get, I don't know if fucking Elon Musk, is that a good idea or not? Probably not. And Joe Rogan probably wouldn't do it. But why isn't Greg Gutfeld, up there? He knows more what GOP voters care about. He's going to ask questions, presumably, that, maybe he'll be tougher because he knows, all right, this is what GOP voters care about. So I'm going to ask these questions and I'm going to hold people accountable a little bit more because I want GOP to win and I want the best person to win out. No?
So on the Elon, so the reason I like some of what Vivek said, how do you pronounce it? Is it Vivek?
Vivek, right?
Vivek. So I like some of what he said, but I feel like the push for Elon was simply because he's kind of waiting on a big donation for Elon and trying to get that. I feel like the push for Rogan was just to get an invite on his show. Like, do I think that they could do a good job if they chose to, and that they would probably better, moderators of a discussion? Probably. They'd probably ask a little more unique questions. But is it something that's really going to happen? No, not unless it's on Twitter Spaces. And so I think part of the reason why they ask these type of people to do it is because they assume they hate each one of these candidates equally, as opposed to like getting Greg Gutfeld, who might prefer one of them. I don't know if that's the logic behind it, but I assume it's probably something close to it. But they keep showing up. That's the other thing. If they don't want to do it, then they should unify at the outset of a campaign and say, we're not going to engage with these moderators or whatever the case is as a unified front. One of them not doing it doesn't really make a difference unless you're Trump and can go do something you're on your own. But if it's such an issue, then they need to have a unified front at the start of these debates, saying that they're not going to allow these people to host it and putting out a list of approved hosts. But also, how often do we let candidates pick who is going to moderate debates? I mean, that's not really. If you let a candidate pick who moderates a debate, then they're probably going to pick a moderator that's going to throw them softballs.
Yeah, I think I guess the question is not can the candidates pick it, but shouldn't the RNC be saying like, we want better people we don't want people that hate us that are going to ask stupid questions and frame questions in stupid ways to ask these questions, right? I mean, shouldn't the RNC stand up? Shouldn't Miss Rhonda? Was it Rhonda? Ronna Romney McDaniels, what's her name?
Ronna Romney McDaniel. McDaniel, or
yeah,
just let's call her Ronna.
Shouldn't she be doing more? I mean, her track record fucking sucks. And I'm not like some rah Republican. I know my background may say otherwise, but like I certainly prefer them to the hyper progressives.
I mean, should she do something? Go ahead, Michael.
Oh yeah, I mean theoretically, she could do. They could insist on it being Ben Shapiro and Megyn Kelly, Megyn Kelly is hosting the next debate, as opposed to these people. I think this is more tradition. That's just getting in the way of the Republican Party being like, all right, we're just not going to do this. This is just how it's always been done. The media has always been biased to the left, and they've always had these hosts who ask silly questions. I certainly agree that Joe Rogan would be a better moderator. That'd be way more interesting. But will they change that? Probably not. But the bigger issue is why are in Virginia, Republicans lost the Senate and the House, right? In Ohio, abortion as a constitutional right passed, weed passed, 2 more wins for the so-called left. And in Kentucky, Andy Beshear, Trump won Kentucky by how many points? 23?
I think so. I think it's
Andy Beshear wins the Democratic candidate for governor, beats Daniel Cameron, the Republican. So what's going on?
Is it all abortion?
I think some of it probably is. I think interestingly enough, this happened at the same time that new poll came out showing that Trump was leading in Arizona, Georgia, Michigan, Nevada, Pennsylvania. And that's one issue he does not talk about very much, even though he did, create the most pro-life Supreme Court. He doesn't go out there talking about it. But yet he's leading in all these polls. He's also leading in, I think that most recent poll showed he's leading with black voters, 22% in some states, which is crazy. It's a level unseen in a long time. And so is it that issue? It could be that issue. I think Glenn Youngkin is a good example because I don't recall his gubernatorial race very vividly, but I don't think they relied on that issue as much during that race as they did now. And he was trying to make this his legacy. I didn't realize that you can only have one term as a Virginia governor and then you have to leave and then maybe run again later. But he was trying to kind of solidify his legacy, and then they leaned heavily on that and then got a ton of blowback.
So there's a couple of issues here. One, there's a few camps on the why are Republicans losing, and I'm not really in any of the camps. One is it's abortion. One is it's because of Trump, right? There's those two camps. Then it's like, well, it's Ronna McDaniel's fault or whatever, the RNC. I don't really fall into any of those camps. I certainly don't think it's Trump, and I can tell you why I don't think that, but it comes back to Brad and I had a conversation on his podcast, I don't know, a year ago about the Republican Party, the future of the Republican Party. I think it comes back to that. The Republicans in the post-Trump era are trying to morph back into what they used to be, and that business model is failing. They have the choice. Do we become MAGA, meaning America first, and we serve working people and we stop talking so much about social issues like abortion? Or do they go back to their old ways, which, like I said, is a failing business model, and they'll just fade into oblivion for the next couple decades? I think that's more what's at play here. I mean, if you look at Trump, is he responsible for their losses? I don't think so. He's polling 22% with Black voters.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
That didn't happen under George Bush or Mitt Romney. Like, he expanded the coalition. Yeah. He grew the Republican Party. Their insistence to keep talking about social issues like abortion and other silly things like that is the reason they're losing these elections.
Well, and to your, I mean, yeah, so he's polling that high with Black voters, and in 5 of those critical swing states, he's leading with a range of 4 to 10 points higher than Biden. The only one Biden's leading in with 2 percentage points is Wisconsin. And so it's like all across the board, Trump is doing very well. Presumably he will be the nominee. And I mean, if these numbers hold, he probably will be reelected. Or can you call it reelected? Yeah, reelected as president again. And so it's hard to blame him. And I think a lot of people do want to, simply because it's a scapegoat. It's easy, and he's weighing the party down and all this stuff. But I do think, I mean, one of the things he did that I thought was huge was when he went to Michigan and stood with the auto workers during the UAW strike. I mean, you haven't seen a Republican president do that in a while. And I'm pretty sure he did that before Biden, which then forced Biden to go do it. And so yes, I think the average American who has seen cost of living go up, the economy struggle, work-related issues kind of somewhat teeter these past 4 years, and see the Democratic Party at the federal level not doing much about it, even if they hate Trump, are still leaning towards that side. Now, that doesn't translate to all Republicans, because a lot of these other candidates are just terrible.
What is the Republican response to abortion then?
What do you mean response?
They don't have one.
What should it be is the question. No, I guess, it's poorly worded.
They should stop. The response should be, we argued for years it should be a state's issue. It's now a state's issue. And they should celebrate mothers, and stop talking about bans and weeks, and they should celebrate motherhood. It's the American public is not with the far right on this issue. You're never going to win them over. I'm sorry. And they need to do something completely different. The strategy up there is, there's 2 strategies, because they can't let go of it, is let's push a 15-week ban because that's what it was in Roe and it seems to be popular, or let's talk about late-term abortions only. Those are their 2 strategies, neither of which work.
Rick Santorum was talking a bit about this issue. You want to see what he had to say?
Yes.
Put very sexy things like abortion and marijuana on the ballot, and a lot of young people come out and vote. It was a secret sauce for disaster in Ohio. I don't know what they were thinking, but that's why I thank goodness that most of the states in this country don't allow you to put everything on the ballot, because pure democracies are not the way to run a country.
So then you're.
Well, I mean, I think it's interesting. He does make a point with abortion being on the ballot, like literally as a question on the ballot. And then you have all these candidates running. That certainly is a recipe for disaster, because you're really dragging out the people, both sides, but certainly the side who wants to protect it more. I think they're kind of more hungry. And this guy, I mean, Rick Santorum, nobody can say he's not pro-life. I mean, so for him to say that, nobody can call pro-life credibility into question, I wouldn't think.
All I have to say is Santorum talking about secret sauce is probably wants to avoid that.
When he says,
in case people aren't aware, just look at Urban Dictionary.
When he says sexy, he means popular.
Yes.
So weed is popular. Abortion rights, or women's rights, whatever you want to call it. I'm pro-life, but guys, women's rights are popular. And Republicans are on the losing side. So either you got to change your messaging or change what you're doing. And I don't see any evidence that they can, ditch the pro-life right.
Is that the far right that you were referring to a minute ago? The pro-life right?
I don't know. There's a small contingent, and some of these people are my friends, and I get it. They want to protect life, and I understand the sentiment. I just think that they're actually doing more damage than they're doing good, I would say. There's a small contingent within the Republican voting base that is influential in campaigns that is, no abortions ever. And then they have to contest with, the message like that ad I showed you from that they ran in Kentucky. Like, how do you compete with that?
Do you want to watch it?
Sure.
Oh my God, Charles, you are so ready.
A 12-year-old girl, she must have the baby of her stepfather who raped her is unthinkable.
Sorry, let's start that again.
I was raped by my stepfather after years of sexual abuse. I was 12. Anyone who believes there should be no exceptions for rape and incest could never understand what it's like to stand in my shoes. This is to you, Daniel Cameron. To tell a 12-year-old girl she must have the baby of her stepfather who raped her is unthinkable. I'm speaking out because women and girls need to have options. Daniel Cameron would give us none.
Yeah, you don't compete with that.
I mean, you just say, then you make exceptions for rape and incest. Seems like the answer. Like, let's do that.
No, you do, but I'm saying that message, like once you put that message on TV, like even if you are out there saying, actually, she's wrong, I do have exceptions, like then you're explaining.
I'm probably the most frustrated with this just because I just keep seeing like the same, like, I don't know, the same strategies roll out, doesn't work. And then weed's the other one. It's like, guys, you lost that fight 20 years ago. You're supposed to be conservative. Like, are we really telling people they can't inhale something into their lungs that they want to? Like, we're still there? Like,
Michael, I was hoping you were going to dig me out of that hole that I dug.
I am digging you out of that hole. I am. Like, the Republicans on weed need to just stop. Like, it's an issue of individual liberty. Like, you're allowed to have the freedom to do things that are good for you and also to do things that are bad for you.
Yeah.
Smoking weed, like whatever, you should have the right to do that. On abortion, I think that we wanted it at the states. This is my solution. We wanted it at the states. I support that. It's at the states now. And this at the federal level, they should be creating tax credits for mothers. They should be giving, tax write-offs at the moment of conception. Like, they should be doing everything they possibly can to celebrate and support mothers. And that's the end of the plan. Like, that's what you got to do.
Yeah, I think that's I think that's great, and I think that would encourage more people to start families, which I'm a big proponent of. And in that situation where you have rape or incest of a 12-year-old, like, where's there should be swift and very harsh justice. I assume that there was some justice for that poor girl and her stepdad who raped her. I mean, I think a lot of people would be like, yeah, that guy deserves to die. And I would be one of them. Like, he should die. And that's fine. Like, maybe you're a state that doesn't have the death penalty and you put him life in prison. Like, okay, I'll settle for that. But this is not one that I'm going to lose sleep over. If I was anti-death penalty, I'm not going to lose sleep over that guy getting the death penalty.
Yeah, I agree. And I'm not a fan of the death penalty, but yeah, someone like that, I as long as they actually, he did it, then I would not have an issue with it.
Who cares if he did it or not, Charles? What are you, some sort of apologist?
Charles, I'm interested. How does that resonate with you on the federal pro-life? Like, what are your thoughts? I'm just interested.
No, I mean, I agree. I think for the longest, the desire was to let it go back to the states. And now that it's back to the states, everybody's like, no, well, this state shouldn't do this, or this state should do this. Like, if you want to advocate one way or the other, do it in your state. That's fine. But now trying to kind of come across with this blanket, this is what everyone should do when we said something else. It's like now we're talking out of both sides of our mouth. But I wholeheartedly agree with your perspective that, and I was having this conversation, this was on a podcast at Texas Southern University the other day, and they were talking about kind of the Black community and abortion. And it's the same thing. It's like a lot of young girls who either are in a relationship or are soon to be a single mother don't have the necessary family support to support them. And so they opt for abortion because they don't really have anywhere else to turn, and we don't have enough services. We have a lot of services, but not enough to truly address the issue for a lot of these young mothers. And I think we often say, well, like, have the kid, and then we just, hope they figure it out. Like, get on WIC, go downtown and get whatever you need. But it's not enough to actually let them survive and thrive. It's them barely getting by. And I think too often the pro-life side doesn't. They acknowledge it, but there's not as much of a concerted effort to fix that problem as there is to fix the abortion problem. And I think if you were to focus on fixing that problem, you might by consequence fix the abortion problem as well, or at least, not make it go away, but significantly reduce it.
If it matters at all, I think Texas's abortion, the law is too strict, right? There's no exception for rape or incest technically, and the doctors are scared. What are they going to do if the mom's life or the baby's life is in danger or whatever? Like, all that needs to be worked out. I don't know why they haven't worked it out yet. But the 6 week, like the heartbeat bill or whatever, before it got overturned federally. I thought that was like, okay, a lot of people are pissed off about it because it's not, they think it's too, people don't know they're pregnant necessarily at that time. I was like, well, that's, Greg Abbott and them, they think that that's a life. And so, like, they're actually sort of compromising there. I don't know if 6 weeks is enough of a compromise. Obviously it's not. Maybe 15 weeks is the right answer. But I guess I would be a bad politician in Michael's eyes because I'm talking about weeks rather than saying, like, that's a stakes issue. And I'm not.
Well, I think most of the polling does show 15 weeks is where, like, most of the country is. Like, I think, if I'm not mistaken, I think that's what most of the polling shows, that they're okay with that. That, if you were to put it there. And I think I saw some commentary saying that had Youngkin in this kind of statewide campaign to get Republican delegates in the House of Delegates in Virginia and in the Senate, laid more on that and focused more on the 15-week thing rather than, I don't know what else he was focused on, that they might have had a better outcome. But yeah, I don't know.
3 men talking about abortion.
Jeez.
Yep.
Well, this is a great topic.
It is a tough one for sure. So all my opinions are strong, but man, what a hard one to deal with.
Yeah. I think it's one we'll be fighting about forever. Like, I just feel like it's just not something that's ever going to have a resolution in this country.
It is a tough one. And there's some people that just, they say silly things sometimes, just sort of, break the ice a little bit. That's all that was, right?
As you started talking just now, I was waiting for you to say something because I saw a smirk creep up. I'm like, oh God, here we go again. Like,
the clippable moments that
you're gonna clip just that one like 2 seconds. You're gonna clip that, and that's gonna be the clip for this week.
No,
you would do that, Michael.
Well, this is a great show this week.
What did we learn, gentlemen?
That people vote yes on too many bombs.
Oh yeah.
Republicans don't know what they're doing,
and that we should never talk about abortion.
Yep, I think that's right. I think we can agree on that one.
Yeah.
So we're at an hour and 4. It sounds like we're going to have a guest next week. We will. It sounds.
We'll
like
let y'all know.
we'll let y'all know on the Twitter sphere, and it'll be exciting if we can make it happen. Any other
like, subscribe, follow, do all that stuff. There's links down in the description for everything. I think the subscribe button. Did we decide it's on this side or that side?
Yes.
This side? Right yes. There. Click it and click the bell so that it notifies you. I think that's what YouTubers say, right?
Yeah. And follow us on social media while you're at it, and at BCM Podcast. Is that I think that's our.
Yeah.
It's in the description, so who cares? You can say it wrong.
That's true.
It's in the description. If you find us on Twitter, there's all the links to the Spotify and the Apple Podcasts and the YouTube and all of our personal Twitter accounts too.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, and don't cancel us. See ya.
Bye. Thank you.